In this video, I just want to point out a couple things to you. I've been telling you that this persecution by the image of the Antichrist, counterfeit Israel, on Palestinians in Gaza, the ability of this image of the Antichrist to malign other nations as terrorists, etc., and the collaboration of the false prophet and the image of the Antichrist to perform signs and wonders, even bringing fire down from heaven, representing judgment, certainly represented in war, but not just war, but arrests, the labeling of all those who speak against or will not worship this image of the Antichrist, the labeling of them as terrorists, the arrests. All of these things have been going on, and I've been telling you, they're signs to you of what's going to happen to you. These are signs to you of what is going to happen to true Christians. True Christians will not bow down to this image. True Christians are being brought out of the deception that they have believed. And for us here in the United States, what that looks like is we're starting to realize the narrative that has been pitched to us in our lives regarding terrorism, and that this has always been about the narrative of this counterfeit Israel, this Zionism that calls itself the chosen people, this image of the Antichrist. It's always been about that. It's always been about the false prophet creating that image and giving life to it, giving breath to it so that it's able to speak, and ultimately so that it is actually the persecuting power that forces all to receive its mark and to worship it. If you're wondering where I'm talking about this, it's in Revelation 13. So read it. Get really familiar with it, because you should be able to see what has been going on. And if you can't see, you need to pray that you see. These things are a sign to you of what is going to rise next year when the Antichrist rises from the abyss, overpowers and kills the witnesses, and then goes on to pursue the rest of God's people. So Jeremy Lafredo is an American journalist. He works with an independent news outlet called The Gray Zone. You may have heard of Max Blumenthal. So he's a well-known journalist who also works with The Gray Zone. I think he might own The Gray Zone. Jeremy Lafredo was investigating this claim of the IDF that Iranian missiles did nothing to their Israeli air bases that are used to airbomb Gaza and Lebanon. Because I've known this, I've sensed this at a gut level, that Israel is always trying to present as though they're winning, and they want to present this front. And part of the reason they want to present this front is because if they're losing, then their sugar daddy, the United States, might be like, you know what, this is enough already. But Netanyahu always presents as though God is blessing them in some way for these abominations that are completely against his law. Don't murder, don't sodomize, don't steal, don't rape. Right, God is blessing you for all that, okay. God would never be in favor of war because he says don't murder, so he's not blessing any of this. In any event, Jeremy Lafredo, an American journalist, think about that for a minute. An American journalist, Israel's best friend, their greatest ally. They arrested Jeremy Lafredo for going and investigating and then reporting that Iranian missiles did in fact damage the Israeli air bases that are used to airbomb Gaza and Lebanon. He was essentially accused of being a spy, even though he didn't jeopardize the national security of Israel. He wasn't, letting out their secrets about what they're going to do next. He was debunking lies. That's what journalists do. That is, the few journalists who have not been purchased by AIPAC. So now I have been telling you, this is a sign of what's going to be done to you. It's going to increase until it gets to the point where true Christians are being persecuted by this image of the beast. And what's happening? This is increasing. It's a little bizarre that this image of the antichrist, that counterfeit Israel would be given power to arrest and persecute American journalists. But that's what they're doing. They're arresting them, they're killing them, they're accusing them of being spies and terrorists. There was another situation in which a Palestinian-American journalist, Shireen Abu Akleh, was killed by IDF soldiers. They were firing deliberately, even though she, along with the other journalists, were wearing blue vests identifying them as press. So that area, for anyone who has common sense, should be off limits. But of course, IDF soldiers claimed this was accidental. They make a lot of boo-boos, don't they? And, that's all they have to say is, oh, it was an accident, and anything goes. While the rest of us here in the world, if we make a mistake, we're actually held accountable. We don't get to say, oh, I made a mistake rolling through that stop sign. Oh, okay, then it was an accident. All right, free to go. There's no accountability whatsoever. They've been given carte blanche permission to do whatever it is that they want to do. It's kind of weird for them to be arresting journalists of their greatest ally. It's kind of weird for nothing to be said, no issue to be made of them accidentally killing American journalists. And it's also kind of weird that these accidents always occur toward those who are speaking against them or exposing them. Okay, so the way that you should be looking at this is that their power is increasing. Their power is increasing to persecute and kill those who will not worship them. Is that what Revelation 13 says or not? Revelation 13 verse 15, the second beast, the false prophet, was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, counterfeit Israel, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. Okay, so this is increasing. It's going down exactly the way that God has revealed it to me. He continues to testify. He continues to give us more and more information so that we will be on the lookout, so that we will know the times, so that we know what to do. So my question to you is, what are you doing with this? Please go discern that with God.